Welcome to the first edition of the Dead Bat Report, where I take a closer look at current events which I find interesting, funny, or completely retarded. Today's episode focuses on the Sunrise interview between former Liberal MP Craig Kelly and mainstream media stenographer and total dickhead David Koch.
Now, the government is in crisis this morning after controversial MP Craig Kelly quit the Liberal Party, wiping out the coalition's majority.
Now, Lizard Brain here is preparing the setup and tone by referring to the Member of Parliament as controversial. I agree, he has some rather out there views, but together we'll soon discover what the real controversy is as we progress through this hatchet job.
The reason I've done this, David, is I want to be able to speak fearlessly and frankly about issues that concern me. And
Like
I felt
what?
that
Like
I
what?
was...
Like what? Perhaps his views on COVID-19 and using repurposed drugs for treatment?
Well, there's quite a few issues. Look, firstly, there's obviously the issue of Ivermectin. I believe Australian doctors should be able, if they think that it can help their patient, they should be able to prescribe that. I don't believe that a government should be interfering in the sanctity of the doctor-patient relationship.
This is where we get to the crux of the discussion. What amount of intervention should we allow the government via its health bureaucrats when it comes to the doctor-patient relationship? And even the legality of restricting a doctor's ability to prescribe a treatment that, in the doctor's professional opinion, may benefit their patient.
Every chief medical officer says what you sprout is rot. It's misleading and dangerous.
Misleading and dangerous. This is a perfect example of a stenographer for the political bureaucracy saying, you, the public, cannot be trusted with information because you are too stupid to understand or make informed decisions. It is us that will decide what's best for you.
I've spoken to immunologists, professors, and some of the highest qualified medical people from all around the world, from Europe, the USA, and here in Australia. And they all are the ones that are saying to me, this should be available for treatment in Australia. If we look at the evidence, David, the problem that we have, everyone here in Australia is being directed by this group called the National COVID Evidence Task Force that are meant to look at all the evidence.
Our best immunologists, and you're just confusing the public.
David, I would disagree with that. We have our highest credentialed immunologist in this country, Emeritus Professor Robert Clancy, someone who won an Order of Australia.
He's not a chief medical officer.
Here is Professor Robert Clancy in his own words.
I am not a politician. I'm a medical bioscientist, and I'm an expert in the relationship between infection and the airways. I followed very, very closely the whole issue of COVID, both from an immunological and therapeutic viewpoint. Look, the data is crystal clear. It's overwhelmingly in support of the fact that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are of significant benefit when used early in disease.
Professor, well, why does the Commonwealth Chief Medical Officer, Paul Kelly, say there's not enough evidence to show they should be used?
I have no idea. I'd be very happy to discuss it with him, but of course, I'm not going to die waiting for the call.
Yeah.
But look, I have no idea. I mean, I've got ideas, but there's nothing I'm going to discuss.
Our chief medical officers, every single one of them, federal, state, says you're wrong. Why won't you just be happy with that?
Because, dipshit, overwhelming evidence shows it will save lives. If there was a proverbial hill to die on, this would be that hill. Why Kelly can't just be happy with that is pretty obvious. Here again is leading clinical immunologist Professor Clancy speaking specifically about Craig Kelly.
I don't know Craig Kelly, and a lot of his views I don't understand and probably don't agree with, but the ones that really seem to be the current focus on the treatment is using ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. He, in my view, is absolutely right. And, it's really sad when people start dragging the guy apart. It's bad enough when you drag someone apart on facts, but if you do it without the facts and without understanding what the argument is, it's disappointing.
It's more than disappointing when you're talking about things that might work, that might help solve a problem.
They save lives. You're quite right.
There are something like 41 studies now published in the medical
conspiracy
literature.
theory.
And all 41 of those studies, 100% of those studies...
It's a conspiracy theory.
No, it's not at all, David. I think you will find, and you can write this down, in the coming weeks, the World Health Organisation will belatedly recommend ivermectin as a treatment. That's a prediction I'll make.
Let's get off that.
In closing, whatever your position on how to deal with COVID, it's vitally important the human race engage in a healthy discourse so as to come up with the best solutions that benefit society, regardless of your political leanings, because ultimately, they don't amount to shit when you're dead. This is Dead Bat, signing off. Hear you, I think it's a filter.
It is, and